last 3 years, and for that, we are extremely grateful. If you're interested in exploring entrepreneurship, they offer a variety of programs and opportunities. So be sure to check them out in Vendor Hall up on the 5th floor. So not only can they help support you on your journey, you can also ask how you might get involved in supporting their entrepreneurial students as well. Otherwise, for today, we have a very interesting panel, Closing the Gap, Recruiting Upskilling for AI Success, because I know everybody loves AI right now. One thing I will ask is throughout this, you'll have, of course, lots and lots of questions. However, we will have a special Q&A section kind of toward the end, and I will ask you to hold your questions until then. And then after that, you can raise your hand. We will have a mic runner who will come up, bring you a mic, and you can have your little diva moment. But otherwise, thanks again for attending Startup Boston Week. And for that, I will hand it over to our moderator.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Can you all hear me okay? Awesome. Good. Sometimes I've had talks where people are like, you were yelling, or they're like, you were talking too soft. So, all right. So just wanted to quickly introduce myself before we go into the panel. My name is Roselle Scarlett. I'm a tech lead at a company called Block. If you're like, I've never heard of that before, like we're the parent company of Cash App and like Square and stuff like that. But I do want to like dive into the panelists and learning more about how we can upskill ourselves for AI. Actually, really quickly, just for the audience, like if you're comfortable, anyone here like a student or a job seeker, just so the panelists know like what they're talking. Okay, anyone an employer and you're like, just looking how to hire? Okay, cool, awesome. So let's dive into it then. First question's really simple. We just want to know a little bit about who you all are, your name, your title, and then of course I always add in a silly question. I want to know like what retro tech that you miss working with. And I know they're laughing because I put DVD players. Apparently that's not really retro.
It's not at all.
Made me feel old. Oh, and I have to go after that. Okay. Hopefully you can all hear me okay. I'm Louisa Herman. I'm the founder of AI Nova, which is a company that builds context-aware AI for context switchers, which is a cool little tagline that I came up with. I basically built these solutions for myself. I taught myself how to code, and I taught myself how to build it so that I could build it. And then it turns out it's pretty cool, and it works pretty well. So other people can use it now. And now the retro.
Yeah.
I miss burning CDs.
Oh, that was a fun time.
Yeah, I miss making my own mixes of CDs and giving them to people and having specific ones for road trips. That's what I miss.
That's a good one.
All right, my name's Catherine Weeks. I also go by Cat Weeks. I am a director of engineering at Red Hat. We're not a startup at all, but I'm here to kind of share knowledge about how we have grown our AI division over the last several years, and then treated even our division a little bit like a startup within a larger company. My retro tech is probably a little bit similar. Actually, let me go all the way back. I miss the real floppy disks. Now, when you say floppy disks and disks, kids have no idea what you're even talking about, where that came from. The actual floppy disks. I mean, all of them. They were all fun.
Not the 3D printed version of the save icon.
No. All right, I'll pass along.
Hi, everyone. Tommy Barth. I lead recruiting operations and analytics at a company called Apollo. We're an AI sales and go-to-market platform. And I believe this is such a great question. A lot of these are pretty easy to answer. For me, I think the beginning of my love for tech started with my Palm 3E.
Ooh.
Monochrome display. You could program any television remote into it. I could turn the TV on and off. We had a sub in class. It's a great time. So I'm gonna go with Palm Pilot for sure.
I love those answers. I hope that took y'all down like a trip down like nostalgia. As you all mentioned, you're all leaders, like engineering directors, founders, etc. I'm curious, as leaders, how do you use AI personally? How does it like help your day-to-day or big picture work?
I could start on that one. I mean, I sort of already started answering that by saying that the tool that I created was developed for me. And so the way that I use AI most days is to synthesize information, because the human brain is not good at all at synthesizing the amount of information that we have to deal with every day. So any tool that can help with that is what I use. We have Stone Age brains in the information age, and any technology. I tend not to use open models. I use local models that I download into my own server for data privacy reasons. But that's how I use it every day.
Awesome. Anyone else want to add in?
Sure. I'm using AI on a regular basis just to manage the amount of information coming my way. So I use it for message threads. I use it to go through my email and my calendar at the beginning of the day and give me kind of an agenda of things that I need to be paying attention to that day. I use it to ask questions. I use it to do deep research, to ask things about what's going on in my org, and we're connecting it to internal data and actually asking challenging questions like, how many software vendors are we paying, and do we need all of those software vendors for what we're doing right now, or is there any consolidation that we can find so that we save some money and can use that money to pay for GPUs that we need? So there's all sorts of different ways that I use it, both kind of strategically and just kind of tactically.
For me in my day-to-day, it's mainly a productivity tool because I'm not an engineer by trade. I also live in the analytics space. There's a lot of things that we used to have to rely on a team of folks to build a lot of dashboards and run a lot of analytics that today we can pull together and natural language query, ask these LLMs to build really beautiful SQL that I don't have to learn. So that's a really nice reality to live in. But for me today, it's a reality. It's a productivity hack. I'm constantly asking it for things. If it's a repetitive task, if it's something that I don't want to dedicate my brain power to, I will offload that task, whether that is aggregating feedback for a performance review or asking it what to make for dinner out of the 6 things that are left in my refrigerator.
It really helps with decision fatigue, I feel
Yes.
like. Like, I don't know, just decide for me. All right, so you all, we're using the term AI. You mentioned it as it, but I don't know if anyone in the audience can relate. There seems to be this pressure to learn AI or get left behind. But people might be like, what exactly is AI? Like, what should I be learning, right? Is it Claude or ChatGPT? Am I using it to work faster? Do I need to be building my own models? I see that Tommy put his name here as wanting to answer this question, but I want to open it to all as well.
I think I wanted to start off by making sure that the conversation was guided in the right direction, because a lot of people talk about AI as an umbrella term. It's like saying, I did it on the internet, like where? So when we say AI for these conversations, at least when I'm speaking about it, it's typically the LLMs. It's one of the major names and like that tool. And I think it's probably important for us to kind of bifurcate those two different perspectives, and maybe for the two of you to talk about how like the different areas of AI that you are working in. You mentioned like running it locally on your machine. That's really cool. So maybe we just like kind of differentiate the different, when people say AI today, at least, like what does that mean for the common user outside of LLMs?
I mean, there's a rant that I could go on about it, because I've been working in data analytics since before people started talking about AI, but I will spare you the rant and say that that's a really important distinction, and that technically a calculator is AI. Just putting it out there. And that there is a difference between their purpose-built models that are smaller, and then when people are talking about, these large LLM models, that's usually, like you made the comment of, I compare it to the internet, because it took over. And now when you say like, oh yeah, I saw it on the internet, people are gonna be like, where? The internet is a lot of things. And I think there is a lot of that, but for simplicity's sake, I think focusing on that, on the large models for the conversation is easier than every time having to go, well, actually, that's not how that analytical model works.
Yeah, I mean, you can also like largely, grossly categorize AI, which I'll try to do. So as you were saying, like there's predictive AI that's existed in the world for quite a long time, and predictive AI allowed us to do things like insurance claims and fraud detection and things like that, where you could do things that were much more deterministic. LLMs brought us into a non-deterministic world where we can create with AI, and you can do that, for words, for photos. We're all seeing all the different ways that's emerging in our world at this point. And I think like the thing that is now emerging is the use of MCP and agents, and that's kind of the next part of this frontier is how do you connect and allow AI to actually take action on your behalf rather than it just giving you information. So those are like
agent, right? Like when we say agent, that is what MCP for us non-technical people. The agent is not
so
just something that returns
Leveraging
text, but can
So-
actually do something.
So MCP is a protocol,
Okay.
and it's how you tell the computer where to look to go do stuff, right? It will tell your model where to look to go do stuff. An agent, there's a server side and a client side to an agent. We can go into depth there, but we don't need to. But basically, an agent is doing a job on your behalf. So it's kind of a combination of these instructions of where it should go to do those jobs, along with like a small language model, typically that's doing that on your behalf.
And this is why I wanted to ask this question at the beginning, is because with the world that I'm living in on the talent side and the recruiting side, companies are trying to figure out how to assess people, how to bring the right talent into the company, and how to utilize this technology for productivity gains within the organization. And what I'm finding is there's so much slop, is the term that's coming around. It's that first version where it's just more and more content that people have generated into a memo or a long email. You've not actually done anything. You've just created more information for us to all consume.
Yeah.
So this next iteration with MCP and clients actually going out and being able to do things on your behalf while you are doing something else is an actual like magnification of our capabilities, right?
Yeah.
Just to drive one point, you mentioned predictive AI has been around forever. Great examples. Also, estimating the time that it's going to take you to get somewhere, like drive times, spam detection, fraud detection, and so it's been around much longer than we've been talking about AI. And it's been doing a lot of interesting things. It's just kind of gotten supercharged, but the focus has been, when people talk about AI, it's rarely about the predictive AI, which is my heart. I love predictive AI.
Yeah, I love that. That was a lot of meat. If you guys are like, I missed it. Basically, just like quick summary, like predictive AI is not something new, right? Like it's always been around. We have predictive AI in our phones, everything. I didn't even think about the fact that a calculator is technically AI. And then if you're looking for like the next step of what you should be learning, MCP is it. Like they mentioned, agents are like software that work on your behalf, and MCP is just like the rules of how the agents should interact with each other. But on that point of what you guys are saying, okay, let's say I'm a junior engineer or a job seeker. How do I pivot into this now that we know like what we should be learning?
Yeah, so I can jump in on this one. So as a junior engineer, if you came from, people come into this area from different places. So if you come from a data scientist background, you're pretty naturally going to be able to start working with Python as a next step, thinking about how you use those algorithms, use predictive AI with LLMs and progress your way through. If you're coming from a software development background, I mean, this next generation, especially with MCP and agents, it's all Python code. It's all code. So it should be very natural to move into this space. And I think it's all about starting to experiment with what's possible, and use the different things that are out there, see what they're producing, drop into that Python code, understand it, and that'll take you a really long way very quickly.
Anyone else? Or
I was just going to say too, we have now, like at my company, at many other companies, we now have AI interviews that are specifically focused on ensuring that engineers and anyone who's in a technical role has not just an interest in, but like a level of fluency in AI. So it's interesting, we're finding that internally too. It's becoming the benchmark for performance reviews. People have to actually start articulating how they're utilizing AI in their jobs to find efficiencies. It's not a requirement at the moment, but it will be at some point. I was like, the writing is on the wall here. And the way, the way it makes me think, both from a technical and non-technical perspective, what I'm starting to see in the assessments, I sit in a very interesting job here because my position is at the intersection of sort of like the hiring teams and the leadership and the candidates and the recruiters. So I see like the mechanisms that are being built to assess talent, and what I'm finding is that they're basically taking, whether it's technical or non-technical, the finish line, and they're putting it like all the way at the end of the room. Whereas maybe a year ago it would have been 3 feet. And what they're trying to figure out is, how are you going to solve this in the limited amount of time that we have with all of the tools that are at your disposal? And we wouldn't have expected you to be able to do this a year ago, but now that you're bringing all of these tools into the room for the interview, like open book test, what can you show us that you're capable of? And that's why that's how I'm seeing it manifest in all of our interviews.
And I will add one thing just to go back to. It is the same thing that we saw with the internet, right? There was this aspect of, in the early 2000s, where I don't need to know the internet if my job doesn't have anything to do with the internet. Okay, maybe before the early 2000s, but you have to understand how it works, because it's going to become a part of everything, whether you're in it or not. And I think my recommendation, if you're thinking, but what does that mean? How do I even get started? Is to find a problem that you want to solve and figure out how code can help you solve it. And it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be an app that you deploy out into the world. It doesn't have to have a front end and a back end. It doesn't have to have, a robust infrastructure. You just build it and get it to work, and then you learn a lot from that. And then you accidentally release it as a product for a company, and then you have to figure out the infrastructure and the scaling and the front end and the back end. So maybe don't do that.
Louisa just gave you the keys to starting your own company.
I'll add one other thing. So we were meeting today at Red Hat. We had a managers day at Red Hat. And one of the things we were talking about is, as managers and as people that are generally older in the
People who
in the
use DVD
workforce.
players still.
like
Thanks for that.
younger kids coming in, like, have the full advantage right now. You have a plasticity of brain to learn some, try the new things, figure out what's going to work, do things in ways that we've never thought of. And as managers, our challenge is now, like, we used to be in a job of bringing in, a younger workforce and then teaching them and trying to bring them along with us. That is broken now. AI has completely broken that. Our job is now try to learn alongside you, be a coach, use our past experience to coach, but otherwise get out of your way and let you experiment with these technologies and see what's really possible, because this is the time where innovation is especially possible, and you're like in the perfect position to do it.
I love the way you phrase that, because I think a lot of times when we hear like, oh, AI is here, people are to steal my job, but you're like, no, it's almost like leveling the playing field. Like, you can be more innovative. Okay, this next question might be repetitive because I think you guys kind of touched on it, but do you think every engineer needs to work on AI now, or is there still room for folks to be focused on different domains? I'm seeing reactions
now.
already.
Hey, you don't have to be focused on it. You just need to know how it works and work with it.
Yeah.
It's kind of impossible to say, no, I don't need to know how it works. I think one of the things that Tommy mentioned is, if you are interviewing somebody and they're saying, well, the way I code, I never use AI for anything. That's not the flex you think it is.
Right.
It's not, because you need to use it because it helps you do things. But to your point, it's not here to take the job of developers. I promise you, it's not. If you've ever seen code written by AI, it's not. But it does serve a purpose to help move things along faster.
Yeah.
And that needs to be used, and not using it as a handicap. And so saying, just like covering your eyes and ears and saying, no, I don't want to use it, is not possible. but it's also not, well, I'm not going to do this because AI is going to do it for me and I don't need to learn it. There's a lot to do.
I have oh, go ahead. You guys are gonna say. I was gonna say I have a follow-up question that's not written down, and I think Tommy kind of touched on this. How do you like avoid the over-reliance then, or like balance that, and the like AI slop? So yes, we should be learning it, but how do we make sure we're not like just submitting something that's clearly created by AI?
I think we're arriving at the point in the conversation where we start to understand that there are people who are going to be like the smart people who have good instincts, just like take the Pop-Tarts off the table.
Leave the crumbs,
Ruining
take
the
the Pop-Tarts.
Like, okay, let's live in a world. Let's fast forward in a couple of years, and everyone at every tech company is completely fluent in whatever LLM takes over, and that's an expectation that everyone is just using like Superhuman for email, and no one even really is doing anything manual. What's left in your workday? If the engineers are truly able to code that quickly, if decisions are technically able to be made because data is available in real time, like what are we doing? This is where my brain has been lately, especially in like HR. We think about like the size of an engineering team, like how many. We used to think about the pizza team of like how many engineers and PMs and designers and data folks, and like that whole equation becomes it's a wide open question. I know we're all having these conversations, but I think that's the most exciting part. Like your question is, how do we know if we're going too far or using too much?
Yeah.
That golden lane of, I've got a good head on my shoulders, I have the right experience, but I have the right intuition to know that the work that I'm putting out is of high quality, it's moving the needle, it's convincing people, it's helping people make decisions, and ultimately building great products and things that customers want. Like, more is not always a good thing.
Yeah.
So right where you ended, building great products, right? Like what a lot of us are trying to do is produce something of value and of quality. So that's the goal. If you can use the AI to do 90% of it, great. If you can't, you can't. So we're all learning where that line is, and I think that's exactly what you're saying. We're
Sometimes
learning where that line is.
the prompts too, I'm not sure if you guys have seen these prompts, it's like, act as if you are a world-class product manager, or like I always love that. It's like, no, you have to be a world-class product manager to know the right question to ask. So I don't know, I think in many ways, like, it's going to create an opening for more slop, but I also think that the people that are asking the right questions are going to arrive at the better answer more quickly. I think that's exciting.
I think what junior people need to be cognizant of is in this process, if you and your peers are creating so much AI code that nobody can review it and accept it, there's going to be problems. And that we're automating the reviewing and accepting now too, to some level. But there has to be a balance there, and we have to make sure, again, that end product that we're producing is of quality. And so if you're doing stuff that wrecks the quality or wrecks trust, then you're doing it wrong and you have to start pulling back. So that's the thing to be careful for is, are you losing trust of your customers or of your peers?
I have a question that is related, I promise. Raise your hand if you know the dead internet theory. Not a lot of people. Okay. There's a theory called the dead internet theory, which states that at some point, all the content on the internet will be produced by bots and all the content will be consumed by bots, and therefore there will be no humans left and the internet will be dead, but it will look like it has activity. I think that every now and then I go on Reddit and I was like, oh yeah, it's here. But
Yeah.
not quite. But I think we are getting to a point where the AI slop means that we're creating things that people can't possibly digest, the whole Stone Age brain thing. And so they're using AI to digest it. So essentially it's kind of like dead internet theory because we're doing it too much. And then it's like, if you create AI code that no one can code review, they're gonna use AI to code review it. That's not good. And I think that that's, as you're thinking about it, the thing for the junior people, if that's right, if you're worried about this, I think that there needs to be, you need to understand how the AI can add something to what you're doing, how it can take away the part that we don't need human brains to be doing so that you can spend your energy on that. But if it's just, it's like Charles Dickens, right? It's like, I get paid by the word. Don't do that, so.
Maybe a quick example. So we're looking at how to use AI to take away the part of like, hey, I got a new issue. I need to create a branch. I need to pull in the right code. I need to like, get everything ready, and then I need to merge it at the end and make sure everything is proper at that point. We're trying to use AI to like just take care of all of that stuff, so that then you're just focusing on the code. You use AI probably during your coding as well, but if we can get rid of all of that like setup and breakdown time that developers are doing in their day-to-day, that saves a ton, and that's not value add for our customers. That's just stuff that we do.
One quick flag, I forgot if it was on the list for later. So I apologize if it was. But one thing to be careful about is depending on which AI models you're using and which tools, the information that you put out there is not yours anymore. And the code that's generated by it is also not yours. So just keep that in mind, that code generated by AI is not yours, and that information that you put into the AI model also is no longer yours.
Good tip. Responsible and like ethical AI usage. Also, I never heard of the dead internet theory, but that was cool.
I apologize to everyone who's going to go in a rabbit hole later.
But we are at almost the 30-minute mark, I would say. So instead of me just asking questions, I think I even saw someone raise their hand. We can move to Q&A. I'll go with this person first because I saw him, and then we'll move forward.
I like to add my 2 cents to the,
I love it.
the last question about the engineers and the analogy with the calculator. So imagine yourself in 50s, 60s, and 70s, and everybody has to write letters. Everybody has to write documents. What are the tools available then to write the letters and the documents? Either you write it with a pen on paper, or you use the typewriter, and then you write it. The key point being that having those tools do not really make you a good writer. You still have to be the good writer. Now take that analogy to 80s when Microsoft Word started coming in. What happens then? All you have to do is upskill yourself to Word, but you still have to be a good writer. The same analogy applies today in terms of, you are an engineer, you're not a programmer, you're not a coder. You are an engineer, you have to have the engineering mindset to say, what are you building, why are you building, and what is the right output you need from it. And then you use the AI to create those right things, to build those right things, make sure it does the right thing, and then move on. One example, on Sunday night, I was working on my small little project. It's a Windows app. And I told AI to, hey, I want to make this as a Windows service so that it survives reboots. It went ahead and did everything. I'll add service for you, I'll do this for you, and then it tried to compile it. Oh, it does not compile, this one needs fixing, fine, done. It compiles now. I run it, it's not working. So that's my next weekend project, to go diagnose it, review the code, do the QA on it, and make sure that it does what I want the code to do and how I want it to do, not how AI did it. That's all. Thank you for your time.
Yes.
Did it
Need
start
those
by
foundations.
saying, what a fantastic idea?
Right? It always gasses you up.
That they need to fix. It's gotta be that.
Or you called it out that it was wrong. I was like, you're absolutely right.
I
Hi,
kind of like it.
I'm
No.
Will. So I currently work in like a non-technical role. I have some like technology experience in the past, so I've kind of been the person who has to do the upskilling for the team. And I was just curious if you all have any like off-the-shelf tools that you think are especially useful for people who are like very non-technical, because I think that like I go to a lot of these panels, and so I'll see discussion about like the creativity with experimenting with like Claude, other AI tools and stuff, and I think there's a lot of people out there who aren't even ready for that.
My answer sucks because I have a big company that pays for Gemini. So that's probably not everybody can just do that. But I have just grabbed a model and locally used it as well. And so if you want to like just start very basic using Olama and grabbing a model onto your local computer and just using that to, instead of Google, to start asking questions and learning, like that's a very low bar entry point that people could try.
My name is Chris. I guess my question is about bias in recruiting, because this is in part a panel about recruiting. So we know that bias is like endemic to the development at all stages of like developing AI tools. So I'm wondering how that guides the way you're thinking about recruiting and upskilling now, especially because I think this question is interesting, because I think the people in the room and the people who are really interested in AI are people who are either like privileged educationally or institutionally. And so there's already a massive gap between the people in the room and then like, you know, low income working class Americans. And so the AI gap is widening that at like a really crazy clip. I'm wondering how you guys think about that.
I can take that one, but
Mm-hmm.
Tommy just took a very deep breath.
Mm-hmm.
So
Go for it.
I'm sorry. The reason why I wanted to answer that one is as somebody who, started out non-technical, is an immigrant, is a woman, person of color, even though it doesn't really look like it. But it's what I've seen is that the lack of diversity in AI has become a much bigger problem the bigger that gap gets. And not for the warm and fuzzy reasons that people are always talking about, like we need diversity because we need people to feel included. This is actually commercially a problem. If you have people developing software who all look the same, sound the same, and think the same, that software is going to work for them and not for anybody else. I have so many examples of this that I love. One of my favorites, which is, again, predictive AI before all of this, was I forget which, I think it was Samsung, but someone released a camera that detected if people's eyes were open before they took a picture. Does anyone see a problem with that? Yeah, that wasn't good for everyone. It didn't work for everyone. Why? Do you think a single person on that team went, hey, there are multiple ethnicities and their eyes look different? I don't think anyone said that. And so there is a need to bring more people in for the reasons of creating better products. I think AI has helped lower the bar because it's now easier to get into development because you can use AI tools to help you. How we get from there to getting people to actually use it and learn and have the infrastructure that they feel like they need is a thing that I'm still working on. Actually, this weekend, I'm going to a conference that's hosted at Brandeis by Girls Who Code, which is an organization that's trying to help with that. There are other organizations that are trying to do that. I personally mentor and help people to try to get up to speed because I think it's extremely valuable for individuals, for us as a society to understand what's happening and what this technology can do, and for science and development as a whole, for all of us to be involved, to come up with solutions that can help all of us. Tommy?
I just realized that my customer success, or my partner on the recruiting side with technology, is in the room right now. So I need to make sure. This is Sterling. Say hi, Sterling.
Hey.
There's so much to talk about here, but I'll keep it very narrow. And if we want to get into it, we can. It's so important that AI is not making decisions for you, period. Not in hiring, not in promotions, not in like these specific discrete use cases. Like AI is nowhere near ready to make decisions for us, in my opinion. And it is definitely not something that, even if it were able to do it, that I would want to be a part of an adventure where it is making all the decisions. We will probably live during a time that there are companies that are making all of their hiring decisions with AI. I won't work there. I hope it's not legal. Who knows? Today, what I can tell you is the way my company is doing it, the way we in the recruiting operations and strategy world think about it, and we talk about this constantly, is what was possible before should be automatable. So say we have a recruiter that's going through 1,000 resumes, and the requirements for the job is you have to have a college degree, or you have to have 3 years of experience at a SaaS company or in financial services, because this is a bank. That we should be able to automate, because you don't have the right thing on the paper, and it's your responsibility as a candidate to make sure that we know that you have the qualifications that are required for the job. Can you lift 50 pounds, right? Like, there's certain things that have to be assessed during that process. Beyond that, it's a lot of what we've talked about. It's like aggregating information so that we're making sure that we're considering all of the information that's going into the interview and assessment process. And one of the things we're actually doing today, which I actually find is causing the interview panels to question their decision making more than the speed at which they would probably make a decision otherwise, is we use a tool, for instance, called BrightHire. It records all of our interviews. It spits back and gives me alerts in recruiting operations when certain people on the team are not letting candidates talk, or when there are certain genders who are not getting enough answer time. Like, there's some really interesting stuff that I get to do on my side, and I can flag and use that as coaching for my interview teams and build trainings around like bias and all these really important topics. But if you're using it to try to make a decision, you're losing the script completely. It's still a productivity tool, and I can't speak for all companies. Unfortunately, I'm sure there are companies out there that are trying to over-optimize their process with AI, but again, I don't work there, and I won't be working there myself. So,
Hi. Just have a question around, obviously AI is going to help people do things faster, right? That's, you guys have talked about that. But what about like the impact on potential people burning out? So like, it's not just like a one-sided thing, like, oh, well now you can do your job faster, which means you're going to have more time. In reality, what's going to happen is people's expectations are going to rise of what can be done. And I'm worried that people's expectations are going to rise in a way that's not proportionate, right? They're going to be like, oh, well, something that took, 6 months, now you can do it in a couple days. Well, you better keep doing more of that, right? Just keep churning out that business impact. So how, for example, as a manager, are you guys thinking about that and like making sure that you're setting reasonable expectations and setting people up for success so that they don't burn out?
Yeah, that's a great question. At Red Hat, we've been talking about this a ton. It's something that is very tricky at this moment in time because we're in the AI rat race, right? So we're trying to be innovative and show that we can come up with the newest technologies in this space, and some of that means we're putting in more work, more hours right now because we're trying to find our way in this new economy, really. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we maintain our employees and have a sustainable team. So we're trying to make smarter decisions about where we have projects that we are accepting that those projects are kind of high risk, high reward projects, and people that are going on those projects are going on them with the expectation that maybe like that's going to be like, no offense, startup mode. That's going to be like, you're going to kind of go all in a little bit. But then we also have parts of our AI organization where we're building for the long term. We're building AI platforms that we want to be around for decades or beyond, right? And we want those teams to be, and the people, their knowledge, and those teams to be sustainable. And so we're trying to make sure that we set up to be successful in a way where we are experimenting with AI. We're seeing what's possible. We're seeing how much productivity gain we can get. And that's going to be a long process of figuring out what that looks like. But at the end of the day, we're still approaching it as this is a 40-hour work week, and we want it to be a 40-hour work week. And the amount you get out of that could change with AI productivity.
Can I answer that follow-up? Have you guys considered making it just as opposed to the 40-hour work week, but just more like impact driven, saying, you know what, like maybe you were able to generate this, you were able to generate this impact, but you did it within 2 hours, but that impact was very obviously meaningful to the business. Does it matter that it's 40 hours?
So I'll just add something really quickly. One of the reasons why I actually ended up leaving like my career of being a head of product at a bunch of startups one after the other is because of something like that, where I realized that, I could provide that value in smaller chunks of time, which works if you work in a fractional way, for example. Like some roles, you can just have a fractional professional coming in, and I'm nodding at Bridget over here because we work together on fractional projects for technology and AI for nonprofits specifically. And so having that be more of like the impact driven rather than, I have a person, I'm paying them for this much time, they should be dedicating all of their brain power. Now their brain power is exacerbated. It's not still in Stone Age brain, but they can do more now. And now I'm supposed to expect more from them, as opposed to just portioning it out and saying, this is how much I expect, this is how much value I need from this person. And so I know that it doesn't work for everyone, but I think it's going to become more common to have fractional professionals come in.
No, you start.
There's a lot of questions.
I'll ask a quick question. So, first off, I just want to say thank you, everyone, for being here and taking the time to inform us based off of your experience and knowledge. My question is more so, I actually had to write this down because it was a little complex. But it's many companies say they want diverse and AI-ready talent, but in practice, their recruiting pipelines overwhelmingly target the same few universities. How should organizations rethink their approach so that high potential students from overlooked schools not only get into the door, but are actually upskilled to success and succeed in AI roles?
Spicy.
Is that like enough? Is that okay?
That's great. That's great.
Let me tell you my hope. I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer on this because I wish there was like there's like this obvious program over here that's doing such a great work. I agree with you. It's kind of horrifying watching what's happening and the amount of money that's going to individual human beings is staggering. What I'm hoping is that this moment is an opening for companies as an entity to get a little bit of like I want you to go build something that they could never build because they're so big. Well, and like this is where I wanted to give you a second to think, get rather your thoughts. Like I'm hoping that like we're not going to see companies grow to becoming 10, 100,000 engineer companies anymore. Like, I don't know if you agree with that, but
Absolutely.
like I just, my whole career has been about scaling hyper growth technology companies. I am preparing my career to get ready for whatever the next version of this is because that version of building Salesforce or Google is over. So the next, what I hope is happening, and I'll give it to you here on the technical side, but is that you're able to build stuff that these big companies wish that they could build, but they can't because they have too much bureaucracy, too many people making decisions. How you get there is a whole nother thing. You got to talk to founders to get there, but that's my hope.
Yeah, so working at Red Hat, one of the reasons I went to Red Hat was the open source ethos, right? And we've had a history of hiring people that were working in these open source upstream communities and producing incredible value. And so we're not looking, we do go recruit from universities, but we also, if we see somebody doing spectacular things in an open source community, you bet you we're going to go hire that person. Like that is an absolute way in. So I think there is a lot of opportunity right now to produce and show value and have that be seen by communities, whether it's open source communities or startup communities or elsewhere, and get your name out that way and not depend on the typical recruiting paths that used to exist.
Wait, I know I'm not a panelist, but I do want to echo the open source.
You're literally the moderator.
I want to give you guys
Do
your
what you
chance to shine. But yeah, I want to echo, like, open source has had a really big impact on my career. So I would definitely use that. Like, if you're looking for a job, that's really accelerated my career by a lot. So just saying that.
I'm also not on the panel, but can I add a comment?
Yeah.
I think you need a microphone.
I can talk loud, it's fine. I think that was a really great question about, particularly around the universities. If there are hiring, thank you. If there are hiring managers or folks in the room like that, go to other schools is my high level takeaway, right? Like, I speak to recruiting teams who do in-person events, and sometimes they always go to the same schools that they always go to, many in Boston, in the New England area. Go to a couple HBCU campuses. Go to a couple of schools in the SEC. I'm an alumni of Marquette University in the Midwest, right? That Big East, those Big East schools, right? Catholic Jesuit universities, right? I say that to say we all have our own biases, right? AI didn't start biases; they won't end biases. And so I think that is one thing to keep in mind. I have my own Big East bias, right? Anytime I see a Big East college basketball school, right, I think very kindly of those schools as well. But I need to remove those biases. And just because I never heard of Pomona College in California before doesn't mean someone super talented isn't there. So think about your biases. There's nothing wrong with having biases. There is something wrong with noting your biases and not doing anything about it.
I love
Thank you.
that. Hit up the
So,
community colleges.
Sorry.
Oh, he has more to add.
So, hi, we are talking about upskilling for AI, and I do see in a lot of different industries people that are working there for decades. They are reluctant about this. So, how can we introduce AI for them? Like, there is a step by step, because it's not just about convincing them. It's like, how do I make them use anything?
This is a coaching question. Yes.
No, go ahead.
No, I was joking.
Frame it.
As you said coaching, I was like,
Yeah. So if people, there's kind of like will problem and skill problem, right? And so you might need to approach both of them, and you can coach people through both of those. So people are afraid of this because they don't have the skills yet, and they're not sure where to start and what skills to get. There's tons of resources out there, and I think making resources available in a company for people is important so that they can get over that skill barrier. And then also having, a lot of what we're doing is just having people experiment and then share their experiments. And when you see what somebody next to you can accomplish with AI, and how they're doing it, that can very quickly change people's minds to go, oh, that's super interesting. They're not having to do this thing that I hate to do. How do I get some of that? But then there's the will side of it, right? And helping people understand what we've been talking about, where if you don't go down this path, you will become obsolete. And having that hard conversation with them about what do you want your future to look like, and how do you see yourself in this future, and what do you want to be successful doing? And in any conversation about being successful in the future, AI is going to be some part of it, and helping people understand that and then get over that skill gap.
Just very quickly, I do think it's very helpful for organizations to define what their AI strategy is, and it can be individual departments, but when we did that at my company, that I think let a lot of pressure out of the room, where people were thinking, is my job going to be, eliminated, or what are the expectations around the productivity gains? We just published as a company, in the next performance review, you will be asked how you are using AI, and you're going to be told you need to quantify it for this cycle. And then the next cycle, it's going to be a requirement. So we're very upfront about the fact that this is a nudge for now, but it'll be a requirement in the future. And that felt very fair, right? Because you get to kind of decide if this is the adventure that you want to be a part of or not. So it's going to evolve a lot. So this will be V1 and then V2, V3 many times over.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was gonna say, with 10 minutes left, I think we can take maybe 1 or 2 more questions, and then you all leave like last parting words.
Hi, well, my name is Ayat. Thank you so much, guys, for your time and for the words that you shared today. I recently graduated from Tufts and navigating the job market. Do you have any advice for like people who don't really know what the AI side for recruiters look like? Are there any things that we should like know about that maybe would help with like applications and such? And any tips in general for navigating this job market?
I'll take it. I'll start. I cannot understate, I want to make sure I got that right, understate the value of in-person and like people-to-people connections in this job market. I see the number of applications and I have to unfortunately set like application limits because there's so many applications coming in. I'm not saying don't apply, you absolutely should apply. But events like this, taking the chance, asking someone, the number of times someone messages me on LinkedIn and says, hey, can we grab like a Zoom chat for 10 minutes? And I say yes, and they go, I can't believe you took this call. Like, well, very few people ask me. So, and that goes for engineering leaders, that goes, like everybody likes their ego to be stroked a little bit, right? Like find a senior engineer on the team, find someone whose work you really admire at the company and start building a list. This is how like entrepreneurs do it when your business development it's brutal. And the job search is just like building your customer base. It is so exhausting, but so rewarding once you get that traction. And it happens when you least expect it sometimes, especially when it's a long slog. So like build a list of people that you're gonna reach out to every single week. Ask them, give them your Calendly or your Zoom link, ask them to see if you could pick their brain for a couple of minutes. Obviously be prepared, don't just get on the call to talk, but just my main advice is get out there, use your connections, be relentless about using the connections that you have, the people who were in your program that have gone on to work at companies that you admire. Find people whose careers that you want to copy essentially, and ask them how they got there. And a lot of times people are very willing to extend a hand, and it means that you might do 99 outreaches and only get one, but that one could be the connection that ends up making it a job and an entire career. Everybody up here, I'm sure, can point to one person in their career that they met, not even necessarily at a networking event. It could have been, at a social event that changed the course of their career. So just don't give up on building relationships and using your network. Don't be afraid to kind of use people for their connections and the things they can offer you career-wise.
I will say, if you feel like it's way harder than it has to be, it is. I cannot imagine what it's like. I graduated over 15 years ago, and I thought it was hard back then. It is so much harder now. And one thing that I keep seeing and hearing is, we started using AI for hiring. And so I think we went a little overboard, we as a society, in filtering out too aggressively. And I've been always saying, we need to get better at that. We need more humans involved. And then I posted a job on LinkedIn. So the tide has turned. I was not going to use any AI whatsoever. I was like, I'm going to read these resumes and these applications. I got 1,000. I'm one person. I don't read, I couldn't possibly parse through all of that. And it ended up going, I ended up having to talk to people and say, hey, I just got way too much. Can you help me find someone? And then I got someone through connections, which I wish wasn't how it worked. But we're at a stage now where we've gone so far in both directions that I think we're coming back to in-person interactions are most important for hiring. And honestly, now that I'm did not expect that. Thank you. But also for selling, for building relationships, you know, it used to be like, oh, we have the internet, we can reach people anywhere in the world. But now, you know, with AI, you can do mock-ups. That's not a difficult word, of stuff that doesn't actually exist. And so unless you know the person who built it, or you can look at the code, like, can you really trust it? It's kind of like the same thing with hiring. And again, cannot be overstated how important it is to go out there and talk to people and have a talking track about yourself and what you want to do, and ask them, like, maybe you can't help me, but can you introduce me to someone? I do not recommend just reaching out to people randomly and being like, hey, can I grab 5 minutes? Please don't do that. But if you have an ask, and if you have a person say, I want to pick your brain about this, people love talking about themselves. So
It might also help to more naturally build those relationships if you try like learning in public. So like that's an idea of like basically you're on LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever, and you're just like gradually showing everything you learned, rather, even if it's something so simple and you're like, this is mad stupid to post, like you're like, oh, I just learned this HTML element. I think once people start to see that gradual learning, at least that's what happened for me. Like I continued to learn, and people are like, wow, I remember when Rizal was just learning to code, and now she like knows about infrastructure and stuff like that. And like whether it was through like my blog post or whatever, like hiring managers were able to see like how my brain worked, so that made it easier for them to be like, yeah, of course I would want to talk with you because it seems like you have a lot in your brain. Whereas when I was more quiet, people were like, who are you? So that could help. I think there's 3 more minutes, so maybe we should just
one really
One
quickly.
more
That's enough. I actually had someone reach out to me because I had posted something on LinkedIn about a problem I was having in recruiting. It was about grading code, how recruiters are not inherently technical enough to grade code, but the engineer's time is supposed to be about building and deploying and building product. So what do we do? And essentially, this guy built on Vercel. He doesn't even code. He basically built something that helps recruiters like go out into the internet and like look at all their Git and basically give us a really simple like 1, 2, 3 grade on their code, whether or not it's decent. And that helped us again on a job posting that had 1,000 people. Now we've got 300 to go through. So like that was a problem that someone saw that I posted, that someone built something for. It didn't take them very long. Hopefully they learned something too, but it certainly caught my eye. So LinkedIn is not a great place, but there's certainly a lot. There's a lot of problems that people are slinging that are really good, like sounding boards for you to potentially like build something and get an idea.
I love that. That's a really good example. Okay, we have 2 minutes left. Let's leave the audience with like some poignant words or last thoughts. I don't know. No pressure. Or not poignant, you know, like whatever the takeaway.
I can start. So I think as you go into upskilling or kind of moving into the job market and thinking about how AI plays into it, I think the most important thing to know right now is that nobody has all the answers. And so it's in a time of experimentation. It's a time to see what might flow, what might be possible as you go into these new job markets. And so I would encourage you to be innovative and creative in how you're approaching anything that you're doing, whether it's, hey, I'm trying to put my resume out there to a bunch of people, and how can I do that differently? You know, go chat with AI and try to experiment with what are some different things that you can do, and what, you know, use it to brainstorm and come up with innovative ideas. I get hundreds of messages of people wanting to talk to me for jobs in my organization. I ignore almost all of them, but if somebody sends me something very unique and creative, I might pay attention to that one. And so there is a time right now where you can show up in a way that is unique because the tools are new enough, and there's enough novelty with what we can do that it can help you shine as a candidate and can help you grow as an individual. So I would say, you know, just treat this as a large experiment right now. see what's possible, try new things, and that's going to help you advance in every way.
Here, I want to give a huge thank you to our speakers. And of course, thank you once again to CART coming to Boston Startup Week. Starting right now at 6:30 on the first floor, we have our ecosystem fair. It is showcasing about 20 resources in the startup community, including government organizations, accelerators, networking groups. In addition to this, we also got music, drinks, networking, and a lot more fun.